Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Oh hey Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Edase Karuna Kori Diyavarachaya Shurohe Ama Tomara Charana Dori Diyavarachaya Shurohe Amaya Tomara Charana Dori Chaya Vega Dhumi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Satsanga Deo e amare Bhutati Sangera Chaya Satsanga Deo e amare Bhutati Sangera Ekati amar nahi bhai bolo Hari Nama Sankirtane Ekati amar nahi bhai bolo Hari Nama Sankirtane Tumi kripa kori Sarabindu diya Dhyana Krishna se tomar Krishna rite paro Tomara shakti ache Krishna se tomar Krishna rite paro Tomara shakti Amito Ganga Krishna Krishna Muli Dai Tava Pache Pache Amito Ganga Translation O Venerable Vaishnava Thakur, O Ocean of Mercy, altogether, be merciful to this servant of yours, and purify the shade of the lotus feet, by helping me control the six urges, and purifying the six faults, bestow upon your servant six qualities. O Master, please give me the 6 times of holy association. I sat down here hoping to have this. The 6 urges are those of speech, the mind, anger, the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. The 6 faults of overeating, collecting mind, unnecessary talking, mundane affairs, being too much attached to scriptural rules and regulations, or too neglectful of them, associated with worldly-minded persons, desiring alienation. The 6 good qualities are enthusiasm, confidence, patience, performing the regulative activities of devotional service, giving up the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of previous acharyas. The 6 activities of holy association are offering gifts and charity, accepting charitable gifts, giving one's mind and confidence, crying confidentially, accepting prasadam, and offering prasadam to others. Alone, I do not find strength to stand before you for others. Please be merciful and blessing me with the drop of faith. Bestow upon me the great treasure, the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, for such is your power. This wretch is simply running behind me, crying, Krishna, Krishna. Where's my thing? Krishna Brahma Narada Vyasa Madhva Padmanabha Hari Madhava Akshobhya Jayatirtha Yamasindhu Dayanidhi Vidyanidhi Rajendra Jayadharma Purushottama Brahmanyatirtha Vyasatirtha Lakshmipati Madhavendra Puri Ishvara Puri Nityananda Advaita Lord Chaitanya Rupa Sarupa Sanatana Raghunath Jiva Krishna Das Nalottama Vishwanath Baladev Jagannath Bhakti Vinod Gaura-Kishore Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Nama Shreshtam Manamapi Shakti Putramatra Sarupam Shirupam Bhasyagracha Rupari Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Radhika Vasam Tato Yasya Dvajita Kripaya Shri Gurum Bhagatosmi. Start over from the beginning. Charya Vaishnava Seva Nishaya Prayeche Keva. Charya Vaishnava Seva Vistara Prayeche Keva Nistara Prayeche Keva Namasheshtam Manamapi Shati Putramatra Sarupam Shirupam Pasyagraja Ruparim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaram Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tam Natosmi He Guru Jnana Dadina Bando Sarandadata Karanai Kisindam Vrindavana Silahitavatar Prasida Radha Pranaya Prachara Edina Bando Karanai Kisindam Kuru Prasadam Mai Mandanude Laksha Parade Bahu Papagare Tatpada Padme Dumatishta Krishna Daivo Guru Chaitanya Das Tatapi Janiye Ami Tahara Prakash Guru Krishna Rupahana Sastira Pramani Guru Rupe Krishna Kripa Karina Bhakta Dane Shiksha Guru Keta Jani Krishna Rasarupa Antarayami Bhakta Shrestha He Duri Rupa Naivo Panyantya Pachitim Kavayastavesha Ramayushape Kridamridam Udasmaranta Yontarbahistadabratam Ashubham Vadunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapushasvagatim Yanakti. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have obtained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kunda, Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, giver of divine wisdom, friend of the fallen, you're the only giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I'm a dull fool and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. Although I know that my spiritual master is a servitor of Sri Chaitanya, I know him also as a plenary manifestation of the Lord. Every living entity is eternally a servant of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. Therefore the spiritual master cannot be other than a servant of Lord Chaitanya. The spiritual master's eternal occupation is to expand the service of the Lord by training disciples in a service attitude. According to the deliberate opinion of all revealed scriptures, the spiritual master is non-different from Krishna. Lord Krishna, in the form of the spiritual master, delivers his devotees. The disciple with his spiritual master is as good as his relationship with the Supreme Lord. Spiritual masters always represent themselves as the humblest servitors of the personality of Godhead, but the disciple must look upon the spiritual master as the manifested representation of Godhead. One should know the instructing spiritual master to be the personality of Krishna. Lord Krishna manifests himself as a super soul and as the greatest devotee of the Lord. The initiating spiritual master is a personal manifestation of Srila Madan Mohan Vigraha, whereas the instructing spiritual master is a personal representative of Sri Govinda Dev Vigraha. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science do not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya, internally as the super soul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can attain pure devotional service. Bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. To have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. Is our Lord birth after birth? From him ecstatic prema emanates, by him the earth is destroyed. Think of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, friend of the poor, the Lord and master of the devotees. Master, be most fun to us. Give shade of your lotus feet. everything to spread all the truth.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalana Kahati Shanna Bando Mui Sabadana Jahara Prasare Bhaye Bhavato Yaja Krishna Prati Hoy Jahate Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Teko Iya Oita Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Kuriya Oikya Anakori Ho Anakori Ho Guru Charane Rati Eshe Ukagati Shri Guru Charane Rati Eshe Uttama Gati Jai Prasare Pure Sarva Jani Jani Prabhu Vidya Gyan Hare Prokashita Vidya Gyan Hare Prokashita Prema Bhakti Hoite Adijani Nasta Jate apija vinasa jate Dedeka jahara charita Dedeka jahara charita Guru karuna sindhu agama janana bandhu Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityanande Om Gauravani Prachadine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatyarishasarine Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hadaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Srimati Sudan. Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohan. Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupi Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Shiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath H.I. Gosai Kori Karanavandan Jaha Hoite Vignanasha Vishapuran H.I. Gosai Gar Vitar Das Sansabara Pararenu Mora Panchagras Tandera Charana Deve Bhakta Danivar Charame Charame Hoye Avilar H.I. Gosai Jate Braja Koilabad Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hare Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Najamiyaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Koriyash Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Harinam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nitai go Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai go to Hari Bol Nitai go Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayom Vishupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sto Tarastat Shishimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki. Jayom Vishupad, Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Sto Tarastat Shishimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Ananta Kodi Vaishnavi Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Adwaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Shamakund Radhakund, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai. Sambeta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. Go Premanande. Hari Hari Bo. Now we will worship the Srimad Bhagavatam based on the verse Gyane Prayasam Udapasyana Eva Jivanti San Mukaritam Bhaviya Bhartam Stane Stita Shrutikatam Tanavan Manobir Ye Prayaso Jita Jito Pyasitai Shrilam. We worship the Bhagavatam by sitting and listening. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Raja Janna Ranjana. 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraye. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter. Kova Bhagavatastasya Punya Shloke Dikarmana Shri Kamana Shrunuyad Yaschakali Malapaham. Who is there desiring deliverance from this age of Kali Yuga, which is so full of faults? Who is not willing to hear Krishna Katha? That's at verse number 16. That's 1:116 for those who are keeping score. Ka, please repeat, means who. Va, rather, Bhagavata, of the Lord. Tasya, his, punya, virtuous, shloka idya, worshipable by prayers, karmanaha, deeds, shuddhi kama, desiring deliverance from all sins, na, not, shrunuyat, does hear, yasha, glories, kali, of the age of quarrel, mala apaham, the agent for sanctification. Who is there desiring deliverance from the vices of the age of quarrel, who is not willing to hear the virtuous glories of the Lord? Purport. The age of Kali is the most condemned age due to its quarrelsome features. Kali Yuga is so saturated with vicious habits that there is a great fight at the slightest misunderstanding. Those who are engaged in the pure devotion of the Lord, who are without any desire for self-aggrandizement, and who are freed from the effects of fruitive actions and dry philosophical speculations, are capable of getting out of the estrangements of this complicated age. Look up estrangements, please. The leaders of the people are very much anxious to live in peace and friendship, but they have no information of the simple method of hearing the glories of the Lord. On the contrary, such leaders are opposed to the propagation of the glories of the Lord. In other words, the foolish leaders want to completely deny the existence of the Lord. In the name of secular state, such leaders are enacting various plans every year, but by the insurmountable intricacies of the material nature of the Lord, all these plans for progress are being constantly frustrated. They have no eyes to see that their attempts at peace and friendship are failing. But here is the hint to get over the hurdle. If we want actual peace, we must open the road to understanding of the Supreme Lord Krishna and glorify Him for His virtuous activities, as they are depicted in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Kova Bhagavatastasya Punya Shlokedya Karmanaha Shruti Kamo Na Shrunuyad Yasha Kali Malapaham. Dozo. Kova Bhagavatastasya Punya Shlokedya Karmanaha
Shuddhi Kamo Na Shrunuyad
Shruti Kamo Na Shrunuyad
Yasha Kali Malapaham
Yasa Kali Malapaham.
Bhagavatastasya
Bhagavatastasya
Punya Shlokedya Karmanaha
Punya Shlokedya Karmanaha
Shuddhi Kamo Na Shrunuyad
Kamo Na Shrunuyad
Yasha Kali Malapaham.
Yasha Kali Malapaham. Anyone else? Kova Bhagavatasya
पुण्यश्लोकेड्य कर्मणः
Shlokedya Karmanaha
शुद्धिकामो न शृणुयात्
Shikamo Na Shrunuyad.
यश कलिमलापहम्.
So this Kali Mala Apaham, this is Kali, the age of quarrel, and the agent for sanctification. during this time when things are troublesome is the shrunuyat, the hearing yashya of the glories of the Lord. And the question the sages are asking here, this chapter is called Questions by the Sages, is who is it who won't listen? And there's an answer given in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Nivrittatar sharupagiyamana bhavaushada shotra manobiramat ka uttama shloka gunanavadat puman virajeta vina pashugnat. The pashu means an animal. The soul is sometimes also referred to as the animal. It's the active living principle within the body. And of course there are animals here, there, and everywhere. And Shukadeva Goswami is answering the question, who is it who won't listen? And it's those people who have a determination, a vow, to stay in the material world. This is a proposition which is a losing proposition in that one has no possibility of maintaining status quo here in the material world, what to speak of being dragged down to lowest regions. In the 9th canto, the 9th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes how some people work very hard to elevate themselves in the material world. And this is done by performing karmakanda activities. But he says in the next verse, although they ascend to heavenly planets, shinye punye martyalokam vishanti evam, that they again fall back down again into the three modes of material nature, which are unstable and are always fighting for supremacy, and therefore no one can maintain their position here. And the souls in the material world, known as Baddha Jiva, who are so dedicated to staying in the material world, are known as soul killers, in the sense that they've given their freedom to the material nature. Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma kartaram iti manyate. They're very foolish, Krishna says, because they have free will that they can use correctly and thus assume their natural position. In fact, this natural position, the original consciousness of the soul, is described in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's the eternal situation of the soul, no matter what the external circumstances. There are three external circumstances or stages of consciousness in the material world. One is awakened consciousness, as we are all awake right now, hopefully. And then there's sleeping with dreams. And then there's sleeping with no dreams, called susupti. In all those three phases of consciousness, which are stages of the mind, which can be measured physiologically as well, the soul and the consciousness of the soul is pervasive there. It's not that in deep sleep with no dreams there's no consciousness. It's still there. In fact, the Shweta Shvataru Upanishad, as quoted by Jiva Goswami in the Tattva Sandarbha, mentions that there's a way in which even while we're in deep sleep with no dreams, we have some awareness of the super soul. That's why we may feel that we're refreshed when we awaken again. But don't get any ideas for adding that to the processes of devotional service. And in the various stages of consciousness, the original consciousness is there. It actually never mixes with the material nature. This is a point made in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam that from one point of view, the soul's never actually entangled because the soul's ever liberated. It's just by temporary misidentification with the material nature that he's called baddha, or bound to material nature. But it's not that his nature changes. The nature of the soul is the same. It's just that he becomes disoriented or misoriented with the material nature rather than with his ultimate interest, which is Krishna. And so those who are in that conditioning of material nature have the preoccupation of adjusting to the material nature, and they've made a vow to stay here. And because of that vow, material nature accommodates and gives them myriad opportunities to enjoy the combinations and permutations of the material modes of nature, which will include ghastly acts like slaughtering animals. And such people are so absorbed in material nature and the pursuit of happiness that they're known to have lost themselves. And as I've mentioned before, even in psychology, some deep thinkers like Carl Jung talked about how the self, the real self, our original self, is exiled when we come to material consciousness. It's like you go to the forest, I'm going to stay here and try to enjoy. And we neglect ourselves. This is another form of atmaha, or killing of the soul. I start a DBA. Those who study business know what a DBA is. It means doing business as. You have a corporation, but then you file for another name and identity for your corporation. It's called a doing business as, or a DBA. And that's what we are in the material world. So, who is it who won't hear? Those dedicated to adjusting to the material nature, trying to find happiness here, resulting in killing themselves, killing animals. But those who are nivrittatarshya, they've wisely come to a conclusion by hearing and taking good counsel, as Krishna says we should, and also in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shruti Pratyakshamitiyam Anamanam Chatushtayam Pramanashpanana Anavashtanad Vikalpat Swavikalpite. Vikalpat Savirajite. Virajite means when you have a different perspective. And that perspective is that it is given by four means. Shruti means by hearing from the Shastra. Pratyaksha means, hey, see for yourself. How's it working out? For instance, in 1967, here in California, down in Monterey, California, there was a pop music festival, which was considered to be, and still is in history, a big deal because people made an attempt to make heaven on earth. It was known as the Summer of Love. And all the hippies from San Francisco who ruled the Haight-Ashbury, you'll be happy to know since it's your Sankirtan spot now. There was a sense of peace and love, partly induced by drugs, and partly by a sincere attempt to try to make the material world a beautiful place. And they all converged in Monterey and had a festival of hearing music from around the world. And there was some sense of enjoyment, again, drug-induced. What to speak of musically induced. The two of them together gave a sense of euphoria. The music reflected the ethos that we will rise above the current mayhem in the world, the Vietnam War, the injustice that is happening despite the Constitution of the United States, etc., etc. And the result was a drug-induced party that at some point was over, and which then descended further into the mode of ignorance, when people were replaced certain drugs with certain other drugs, and the musical performance, which was it was done as a charity, because many of the groups who came there felt that this should be done selflessly. Therefore, we don't want to be paid. Or if we are paid, all the money should go to charity. Everyone should be a volunteer. Some kind of karma yoga idea. So there was some sincere desire for that. But then, of course, the impulses of those who know how to make money capitalized on the event, and it became more and more commercialized. There was ultimately no peace. 3 of the great heroic figures of that very music festival died 3 years later at 27 years old, joining a club called the 27 Club of young people who not just burn out, but they die due to excess in one way or another, except for one of them who died in a plane crash. And it goes to show, if you go back in history, Percy Bysshe Shelley, the poet, talks about Ozymandias, and he says, I met a traveler from an antique land. And he goes on to explain how this person he had met, who had been traveling in the desert, found the shattered statue of a cruel emperor named Ozymandias, whose inscription beneath his statue had said that others should fear him. Look upon my form and feel afraid. And there, the poem points out, he is long gone, thousands of years gone, and his huge statue was shattered and only half there, half face down in the sand, 2 legs standing alone, broken by time. And this is the legacy of those who would try to enjoy the material world and simply become stoic here. So, Kova Bhagavatastasya Punya Shloke Karmana. There's a way to overcome the frustration of the material endeavor to find happiness, which always ends in the opposite. As Prahlad Maharaj says in his prayers, the moment one begins to think about how to become happy, that's when you start suffering. So how will one rise above the anomalies of the material world? Punya shloke karmana shuddhikamuna shrunuyad. The process of hearing about the all-good personality of Godhead. And those souls who are in the material world may come to a point, bahunam jammanamante gyanavam mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti sa mahatma sudurlabhaha, that they, after many, many years, bahunam janmanamante gyanavam, they may become intelligent at some point, especially if they get a book thrown in the backseat of their car and swipe their card and drive off. They may get intelligent faster than bahunam janmanamante. Such persons can come to a realization that there is an ultimate goal to life, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, and then they become what Krishna calls great souls. They endeavor for the perfection of life. And they have made a break with the idea that I'll stay in the material world and life after life try to enjoy. So those persons are known as free from the desire for temporary things. They no longer have a thirst for the temporary. They want something eternal. And then they can take the medicine. This is parallel with the 10th canto, that there's bhava ashaudi. Bhava means the material world that's constantly turning into something else. In fact, there's a scientific principle called the observer principle, which means that whatever you look at changes. It's like, ha ha, where is that? Everything moves and changes. Sociologically, that's true. Psychologically and physiologically, in physics, we can't observe the world exactly as it is. It's very difficult to observe anything properly. And bhava is always changing. There's a medicine that one can take, a bhava ashaudi. Aushadi means medicine. And when you take that, then you can become immune to the misery, well, not immune to the miseries in the material world, but you can solve the problem. And that's indicated here, that yasha kali malapaham, shuddhi kamuna shrunuyad. There is a process by which one can cross over the difficulties of the age of Kali Yuga. So in that there are various levels of devotees. There's the beginners, or the Kanishta Adhikaris. And the Kanishta Adhikari is one who's described Archaryam eva haraye pujam yasharaye hete natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smritaha. And that is that such a person is fascinated with the Archa Vigraha, the deity in the temple, and thinks that God's only in the temple, nowhere else. And this is a very limited understanding of God, that He's there on the altar only. Everything else is up for grabs. Archaryam eva hare pujam yashradayehate. And then, more importantly, such a person hasn't evolved to the point, natad bhakteshu cha anyeshu. Such a person doesn't appreciate the power of devotees. The bhaktas, madbhakta puja byadika, Krishna says himself in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that if you want to perform worship of me, then worship my devotees. It's better. Based on the principle of Aradhanam sarvesham Vishnu aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi tadyanam samarchana. When Parvati asked Lord Shiva, what's the best kind of worship for Krishna? He said, if you want to worship Krishna, then worship what's dear to Krishna. And the most dear to Krishna are his devotees. But the Kanishta Adhikari doesn't know that. So natad bhakteshu, it can't worship the devotees. Cha anyeshu means it doesn't also doesn't know how to do good for others. Such a person is unaware of the fact that Krishna is within the heart of all living beings. And there's quite a bit of evidence that the Shrishti Lila, or the expansion of the material world, is, of course, it's Krishna's Lila, or play, to wake up the sleeping, his sleeping counterpart in the material world. The living entities who have been involved in the material nature since the time immemorial, wants to give them a chance, and he comes in many, many ways to awaken them to Krishna consciousness. He's present in his personal form. He comes anugrahaya bhaktanam, that out of mercy, he comes and shows his original form here in the material world. That's why we were able to celebrate Janmashtami, because he actually took birth in the material world. And he also expands himself as a chaturvyuha. So chaturvyuha means there's Vasudeva, which is Krishna, the original personality of God, and Vasudeva Sankarshana, which is manifestation of all of Krishna's energies and his opulences. And then there's Pradyumna, who is the soul of the universe, like a Garbhadakshay Vishnu. And then there's Aniruddha of the Chaturvyuha. And Aniruddha is the Antaryami, or the supersoul in everyone's heart. And as we know, Naivo payantya pachitim kavayasthavesha brahma yushapi krita mrida mudasmaranta yontar bahis tanubritam ashubam vadunvan acharya chaitya vapusha swakatim vyanaktik. Uddhava is thanking Krishna. He said, if I took some span of lifetimes of Brahma, I wouldn't be able to express enough gratitude to you for the ways that you try to deliver me from the material world. You come as the Antaryami, and you also expand as the Acharya. And then the Lord comes as the Archa. And as explained in the Bhagavatam regarding the Archa form of Krishna, although the Kanishta Adhikari, this is given in the commentary on the verse, Archaryam eva hariye, pujam yashareye hite, natat bhakteshu chanyeshu, sabhakta prakrita smritaha. Something that may delight your heart. Would you like to hear something that might delight your heart? Even though the Kanishta Adhikari has confined him or herself to worshiping the Lord within the temple due to not having received association with pure devotees, Krishna in his Archa form includes everybody and everything, because he enters personally into the form, the Chaturvyuha is there, the Antaryami is there, all the forms in which Krishna reaches out to the living beings to extricate them from the material world and invite them back to the spiritual world are contained within Archa. So the Kanishta Adhikari comes to worship the Lord in the temple and then gets the benefit of all the different agents of the Lord who are there present. Nonetheless, the definition is given that sabhakta prakrita smrita, that person is on the lowest level of devotional service because they don't know how to worship the devotees, madbhakta puja bhyadika. And they also don't know how to do good for others. Tapyena lokatapena sarava prayasojana parama aradhanam taddi purushasya kilatmana. Lord Shiva again tells Parvati, Shukadev's actually speaking here, and he's mentioning how Shiva knows this principle, aradhana, para aradhanam. The highest level of worship of the Lord is to extend yourself, which is not easy, because we'd rather stay home and sit on the couch and scroll. And so extending oneself is not so easy. Tapyante, it's a little austere. Lokatapena, why? For the people in the world, for the people. They're suffering in the whole world. And if you feel for them and you say that they should be given opportunity, we should feel compassion for them. So then, aradhanam taddi purush, somebody who takes some trouble to help other people in the world. Of course, there are long lists of people who have that sentiment, who want to reach out and help the people of the world. But they don't have a clear idea of how that might be taken up. They have the sentiment, they just don't have the knowledge. So the Kanishta Adhikari doesn't have the sentiment and doesn't have the knowledge. Therefore, it's called sabhakta prakrita, a materialistic devotee. It still only sees Krishna in the temple. Nonetheless, Kanishta Adhikaris are glorified. Kapila Dev says, when he describes the Kanishta Adhikari, that when the Kanishta Adhikari comes to the temple to see Krishna, smells the incense, bows down before the Lord, that person is imperceptibly liberated, coming to see Krishna. And then the Madhyamadhikari is described the middle class devotee. It was a very high distinction in devotional service. Ishvare taradineshu balisheshu dusatsucha Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyamaha. That the Madhyama Adhikari has dedicated his or her life to developing love for Krishna and also making friendships with devotees, knows the value of devotees, takes advantage of devotee association, Krishneti yasya giritam manasa diriyeta, dikshasti che pranati bishya bhajantamisham, shushushaya bhajana vignamananyamanya, nindari shunya hridamipsita sangalabhya. That Rupa Goswami mentions in his Upadeshamrita that there are ways in which we should relate to different classes of devotees. For those who say Hare Krishna, one should offer respects. Because it's not ordinary. Aho bata shvapachato gariyanya jivagre vartate namatubhyam te pusta paste juhuvusasna arya brahmana trinama grananti ete. Devahuti said, oh, this is such a wonderful thing that if somebody just says with their tongue a little bit, Hare Krishna, means tip of the one. You can't take him anywhere. Then such a person is known to have graduated above the common people. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said it also. If I hear somebody say Hare Krishna, they can't be counted amongst the regular populace. That's a different kind of person. In fact, devotees are so joyous when they look anywhere. They see a sign that says Hare Krishna. It's like, oh, there's a sign. Or they hear one person say Hare Krishna, even if they accidentally say it, or say it out of derision, as Shukadev even mentions in the 6th canto of the Bhagavatam. They can say it any way they like. They're still saying the holy name. So that's Devahuti's presentation. Then if you hear somebody say Hare Krishna, then you should show the respects within your mind. And then if you see somebody who's progressed to the point where they've understood that Krishna and his name are on different process of devotional service is predicated by chanting Hare Krishna, or I should say the attainment of love of God is predicated by the process of chanting Hare Krishna, a direct connection. And such a person has accepted initiation from a Vaishnava. That person, you should really stop the car, get out, get on the ground, offer your obeisances. You should make an arrangement to demonstratively honor such a person who's an initiated devotee. That means there should be a lot of respect flowing in the community, in the greater community, going out of one's way to appreciate. Not everywhere. Anybody saying Hare Krishna? Like Prabhupada mentions in that context George Harrison. He said we have a famous musician who's a follower, and he likes to chant Hare Krishna. Therefore we offer him all respects. Even though he didn't have a bald head. Prabhupada told him not to shave up. And also, he may have a livelihood going to concerts and things like that. Prabhupada said we respect him. And then those who are initiated, and then nindadi shunya hridam ipsita sangalabhya. We should desire the association of advanced devotees who have steadfastly followed the process, who are preaching Krishna consciousness. It's their preoccupation. Prabhupada says they think 24 hours a day how to expand the Sankirtan movement. And those persons are also visibly doing bhajan constantly, one way or the other. He calls these uttama-adhikaris. There are other definitions of uttama-adhikaris according to which scripture you look at, and kanishta and madhyam. This going according to the Bhagavatam and Upadeshamrita. For such persons you should learn to serve. In fact, in his commentary about kanishta, madhyam, and uttama-adhikaris, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says the preoccupation of a Madhyama Adhikari should be to be the right-hand person of an Uttamadhikari. Find yourself an Uttamadhikari, and then find out what needs to be done on behalf of an Uttamadhikari, and say, I want to be your right-hand person. Unless you're left-handed, and then then you got a problem in the Krishna consciousness movement, wherever you go. As people constantly tell you, don't eat with your left hand. So there's appropriate ways to apply the process of devotional service according to one's level. And then the Uttama Adhikari Sarvabhuteshu Yapashyad Bhagavad Bhava Matmanaha Bhuteshu Bhagavad Yatmani Esha Bhagavatotamaha is described as the Uttam, the highest devotee, sees Krishna in everything and everywhere. And there are other symptoms in which the Uttamadhikari, out of a sense of deep humility, called dainya, has a spirit, not like in material life, people have a lack of self-esteem. It's not like that at all. The person has the highest spiritual stature, but doesn't think much of his or her own position. Thinks I'm the servant of everyone else, and everyone else is so nicely engaged, but not me. And the Uttamadhikari often comes to the Madhyama Adhikari platform in order to present Krishna consciousness to others. And so one may progress. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, from a Kanishta level to an Uttama level, krame, he says, step by step, by perfectly chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which means without offense, and following the processes of association, as I mentioned just now. And this is altogether possible. Nobody can claim that I can't rise to that platform, because it's already established in the scripture as the goal. So if the goal is given to us, that means it's attainable. Otherwise, Srila Vyasadeva says in the Vedanta Sutra, what would be the purpose of all the scriptures? It would be illogical to tell us to come to a level that we couldn't attain. So, how is it attainable? There's the clear evidence within the Srimad Bhagavatam that if one continues the process of hearing, Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham Strin Punatihi Vaktaram Prachakam Shrotrims Tatpada Salilam Yata. That means 3 kinds of people can be benefited by the process of hearing about Krishna. One is the speaker, who gets the most benefit. That's why I hog all the classes. Then the second most benefit comes to those who listen. Yay! And then the third comes to whomever else hears it incidentally, or those who are in the audience, or even somebody who walks by. Remember when we were in our temple on Union Street, it was a funky little strip mall. And people would walk by to get a haircut or a pizza or fix their computer, and they'd always do a double take because the windows showed them Radha Krishna in the spiritual world. And devotees in there hearing about Shukadev Goswami and Maharaj Parikshit, and they're like, what? Those people hear, even incidentally, Vishujate hridayam na yasya sakshat darir ravasha abhihitopya goganasha pranaya rasanaya dritangri padma sa uttama sabhavati bhagavata pradhana ukta. This is also from the 11th canto in describing the different levels of devotees. The pradhana, the topmost devotee, is described, and it begins, does the verse, with if somebody accidentally hears or says Hare Krishna, then Krishna is inclined to shower benedictions upon them. That's why he's known as Vrishakapi. Vrishakapi means if somebody attends to Krishna, thinks of him, then Vrishakapi, Krishna, is inclined to shower, notice the verb, that person with benedictions. Furthermore, he's inclined to satisfy all of his desires. And thirdly, he's inclined to remove all his miseries. What do you think? Haribol? And so, Rishijite Nahridayamni Yasya Sakshat, because he's already there within the heart, noticing everything. And if you notice Krishna accidentally, then Krishna says, okay, count it. It counts for that guy. He'll shower him with all kinds of benedictions, including Vyagoganasha. He erases mountains of ugra karma, past karma that he's accumulated from living in the material world and doing all the wrong stuff, driving on the wrong side of the road in traffic. Comes off his record. And so then the Pradhana Bhakta, the topmost Bhakta, is called Pranaya Rasanaya, Dritangri Padma. Dritangri Padma means the lotus feet of the Lord. And then it's given metaphorically here that if you chant with love and intention towards Krishna, then it's as if you're tying his lotus feet with ropes so he can't get away. And Krishna won't leave you. He appreciates you so much. He went to see his devotees in the Bhagavatam, Shrutadev and Bahulashva. He went out of his way. He left his kingdom and went all the way to their homes and so forth. So similarly, if we give a little attention to Krishna, then he gives this showering of benediction, adjusting our lives in certain ways so we can understand, as Jiva Goswami says, for the devotee, when there's obstacles, he takes every obstacle as a stimuli for advancing to in devotional service. And then he says that every obstacle for the devotee is a rung on a ladder. And the devotee welcomes such obstacles. He says, okay, there's a rung on the ladder, and where's the ladder going, do you think? Take a guess. Who said Krishna Loka? Could be bold. If you're wrong, say the wrong thing really boldly. Where's the ladder going? Krishna Loka? Correct. Yeah. Jiva Goswami says that means every obstacle is a chance to stimulate your sense of determination that I'm going to go back to God despite all these obstacles, and it becomes a ladder. And you put your feet on it, and you, one by one, you step on the head of every obstacle as a rung on the ladder, and it takes you straight back to Godhead. Tattenu kampamsu samikshamanu. And so, the finishing the thought, Sarvabhuteshu apashyed, the topmost devotee sees Krishna everywhere and within everything, never loses vision of Krishna, and then when such a person comes to the Madhyama Adhikari platform, acts in such a way to do good for others. And so you have these three levels of devotees, and all of them are stages attainable by anyone who will submissively hear and apply his or her life to the process of hearing. Nashinuyad. Kova bhagavatastasya punya shloke dikarmana shuddhi kama nashinuyad yasya kali malapaham. If you don't like Kali Yuga, anybody? Yes. Well, for any reason, if you don't like the material world, then you're in luck because you have the process to rise above it. As a president, a U.S. president used to say, and he used to say during his campaigns, he would say, "Don't boo, vote." Because he would talk about the opposition, and people go, "Boo," and he said, "No, don't boo, just vote." And in the same way, you don't have to complain. I mean, you can a little bit, because it feels good sometimes. But don't complain too much, just chant. and arrange your life so that you can hear. The Shrunuyat principle means the medicine is there. It's right on the shelf. You can just take a few steps and take it down and don't complain you have a stomachache. The cure is right there. Just get it and start taking the cure as much as possible. And rise from being a Kanishta-adhikari to a Madhyama-adhikari. Kanishta-adhikaris complain a lot. In fact, they're always quarreling. Prabhupada mentions this in the Sri Upanishad. He says, Kanishta-adhikaris quarrel amongst themselves about the details of the process, whether somebody else is doing it right or wrong. And then he says the Madhyama-adhikaris, they're absorbed in thinking of how to give Krishna consciousness to others. Who would you rather hang out with? People who are always quarreling and complaining and criticizing each other for the details of how they're doing devotional service, or those who are thinking about how to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world? Okay, we're going to vote. Don't boo, vote. Okay. 1, Kanishta. Who wants Kanishtas? Vote, don't boo. Raise your hand. Hands up. Okay. Madhyam. It's unanimous. We want Madhyamadhikaris. And of course, we want to pray to Krishna to find Uttamadhikaris and say, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please give me the association of Uttamadhikaris and the wherewithal to serve them properly and not miss the opportunity to receive their mercy. Those are a few preliminary thoughts, and now let's have some questions that could expand the conversation. Mukadavinda, and then Mayapur Vihari.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. It was such an amazing class, and especially you taking us to the journey of how to get to the Uttamadhikari level just by hearing. I have 2-3 questions. One question is that you told about like the Madhyamadhikari, he has to be just right hand of the Uttamadhikari. Could you explain, like, here we know Srila Prabhupada is the Uttamadhikari, how can be with his right hand?
We'll find out what kinds of things he wanted to do with his hands. By manual labor. What's the verse? It comes right after Nanama Rupe Guna Janma Karma Bir Narupitavye Shinvan Grinan Samsmaranam Chintayan Namani Rupani Chamangalani Te Kriyasu Yach Touch Charanada Vindayo Avishta Cheta Bhavanaya Kolpate. In this verse, Shukadeva Goswami says that the devotional service can be very practical. Kriyasu yat sach charanada vindayo. In fact, manual literally means by hand. And kriyasu means a practical labor. Kriyasu yat touch charanada vindayo. That Prabhupada says there, by manual labor, one can serve, as indicated in this verse. And so, what did the Goswamis do? And you say, well, they had their eternal forms in the spiritual world, so therefore I'll be a manjari in this life. But Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, what you should be is a Rupanuga, following those manjaris, liberated souls, and what they did in this world. And what did they do? Sankhya Purvaka Namagana Natibi Kalavasani Krito. They counted their sadhana very carefully. They got their bhajan on. You got to get your bhajan on. And they also did the activities of spreading Krishna consciousness. You know how much labor it takes to build a temple or excavate a holy place? I'm literally asking, how much labor does it take? On a scale of 1 to 10, it's about a 15. Manual labor, I mean, just finding the money. You know, who's going to give you the money? It's like, get us a bigger temple. It's like, all right, give me the money. I'll get you a bigger temple. You just come to my house and give me a bag with $25 million in it, and I'll get you a new temple next week. So it's not easy. kriyasi yat satcharanadavindayo. So use manual labor and find out what work is to be done. Prataparudra Maharaj swept. He said, I'm going to do that. I'll take that, manual labor. How did he get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? According to one purport, Prabhupada says, Mahaprabhu saw him. He was sweeping the floor. He was sweeping in front of Jagannath when he was being put up on the carts. And so he counted him. So find out what Prabhupada liked. It's really good to hear from those who were with him. Yesterday, I had the great fortune of sitting with Her Grace Malati Devi for a few hours. She was telling me stories about Prabhupada's moods, things he said, the way he talked about deity worship. You want to hear some? Nah, I don't want to hear that Vaisesika. So one thing she said, at one point we were talking about the evolution of deity worship in ISKCON, where it came from, what level it's at now, and what level it should be at. And she mentioned how Prabhupada had appreciated the standard at Radharaman. Of course, there was not much reference point, and we didn't have the padditis at that time. Prabhupada made his own guidebook. It's very simple. Then he said he wanted it upgraded. In the meantime, he said, look at Radharaman, what kind of things they do. So the devotees were going down there and learning how to do archan at Radharaman. And one of them came home, and I forgot if she named who it was. I can find out later. But then he was showing some of the things to Prabhupada that he had learned. And of course, when you take shiksha, you're supposed to bring it back to your Diksha Guru and say, this is what I learned. And then they were showing there's some mudras. And he said, okay, that's enough. She didn't give commentary on that, nor did Prabhupada, but there was a point at which Prabhupada, including in 1975, when he talked about getting our deity worship codified in India, in ISKCON, he had said he wanted Hari Bhakti Vilas, but truncated down to about 40 pages, which would be a neat trick, because it's one of the most detailed aspects of the Hari Bhakti Vilas. And they always came out with that white, you never saw it, unless it's in a museum. In fact, it's funny because it was made out of plastic to last forever, and that's the first book I ever had that disintegrated into nothing, into powder. I still have it in a bag. But that was done by Jayatirtha, who at that time was one of the authorities on deity worship, and Jai Sachinandan, who is somehow from last life. He was an American from New York, and he just knew how to speak Bengali and Sanskrit perfectly. Prabhupada said he was Bengali in his last life because of the way he sang kirtan. They put together a padati and so forth, and there's a certain level at which Prabhupada said, okay, up to here, don't get too fancy. I had mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Rupa Goswami says those on the path of Raganuga, they give up certain things that they're doing in Vaidhi Bhakti. And so, okay, what is it? I'll give it up. It's only one thing mentioned, really. Mudras. It's too fancy. It's not sweet enough. So, finding out different levels. Some of these are slightly random, but they can all be fit in there. Old Prabhupada pastimes. She was talking with Malati about how when they first came to be with Prabhupada and follow him around, they also had a dog called Ralphie. And Ralph, the first time she met Prabhupada, they had already started the San Francisco temple. And that was because Mukunda, on his way out, Michael at the time, on his way leaving New York, told Prabhupada he was going to India to learn music. And Prabhupada said, okay. And he said, I'm stopping in San Francisco. Prabhupada said, oh, while you're there, start a center. And he was caught in the doorway, and he thought, what did you just say? But because of Prabhupada's potency, one thing led to another, and because of Mukunda Maharaj's, became Mukunda Maharaj later, his deep sincerity and the destiny he had in this life to serve Prabhupada so deeply, that he started a center. He met Shyamasundar and Malati and others. They met the Grateful Dead, who loaned them their stove, because they didn't have a stove when the devotees moved in. They had to cook. You know who the Grateful Dead is? If you're a Sankirtan devotee, you should know. Otherwise, you shouldn't know. Anyway, you know who the Grateful Dead is. They were a rock and roll band. They were quintessentially San Francisco and music. It was a brand of music at that time. And anyway, they loaned the stove, and then the devotees were reconstructing the house, and once they finished, you couldn't get the stove back out because they built a wall and it couldn't come back out. They loaned it and they couldn't get it back. In any case, Ralphie, back to the dog. When Shamasundar and Malati joined, they had a dog named Ralph. And they all went to the airport, San Francisco airport, to greet Prabhupada for the first time on California soil. And all the devotees were there. And she was wondering why Prabhupada took a plane, because she said he could have just flown here himself. She had this conception of mystic yogis, flying, and said, why take an airline? So she was waiting there. It's the innocence of the devotees. And then at that time, San Francisco, back in the old days, kids, San Francisco airport was very different. There was no security. You could walk right up to the place where people were getting off. You didn't have to go through a security check. You can thank the terrorists of the world for our inconveniences. Thanks, terrorists. So they were all there, all the devotees waiting, anticipating seeing Prabhupada for the first time. And so when he got off the plane, he was the last one off. And Malati said she found herself offering dandavats. She said she had no conception of dandavats or any kind of obeisance, but somehow or other she found herself lying face down. And then she looked up and she saw these white shoes with points on them that the Prabhupada brought from India. You know, the white rubber shoes? She saw him going by, and right behind him she saw Ralphie following behind. So Ralphie, she said, knew how to follow the pure devotee. She fell down it. Then Ralphie got behind Prabhupada and was following. It's there in the Anjalila, the Chaitanya Charitamrita with Shivananda saying also. Dogs, although they're disparaged a lot in the Shastra, sometimes they have some good qualities. If they follow the right person. So anyway, then Ralphie was hanging around a lot, and they had been used to having him in the house and stuff like that, and that wasn't working out. So they decided to find a person who would take Ralphie, and so they found Ken Kesey. Anyway, I'm throwing out names there that people might know from history and the counterculture, but nobody here would probably know. But Ken Kesey was with a band of kind of counterculturalists who were traveling around the country in a bus. And they were happy to take Ralphie. And she noticed that when they took Ralphie, that they were treating him just like a human. He was eating off their same plates and stuff like that. So she went back to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada asked where Ralph was. And she said, I gave him to some people. And he said that, and she said, and they treat him just like a person because they were eating off the same plate. And Prabhupada said, he is a person. And then he repeated it, he goes, he is a person. And I just took note of that Prabhupada thought of everybody. The Sarva Bhuteshu Pashyad Bhagavat Bhavamatam Anamaha sees everything in a very personal way. Everyone was a devotee of Krishna. And so if one can find out the mood and mission of a pure devotee and become part of that, this is called the Acharya Sampradaya. Prabhupada mentions it in the Bhagavatam, right after the verse Tvayam Bhujaksha Kila Satvadamni Samadhi Naveshit Chaitasaike. If you look at the very next verse, I don't know the Sanskrit for it, but there he talks, that's in your list, that's not on the, Yeni Vimaksha is in our Prabhupada picks, but it's not the next verse from Tvayam Bhujaksha Kila. And there he talks about the Acharya Sampradaya, but it's good. You know, I'm not disparaging your, but it's not the right verse. So then in the purport, Prabhupada talks about find out how to serve the Acharya. And we're in a very fortunate situation because one way or another, the way we've slogged through to get to where we are in ISKCON, we have Prabhupada sitting on the Vyasasana. And we also have a clear idea, or a clear-ish idea, of how to worship the devotees in the different levels. If you have a community where people know how to appropriately worship devotees, then you have a very sanguine environment where everyone feels enlivened. If you forget that etiquette, and for instance, if you say, well, there's only Prabhupada, everyone else can go to hell, then you get a weird drop-off. But if you find out how to appropriately worship the Acharya, and then also how to honor those in every generation who are worshiping the Acharya, but with the proper etiquette, and so that it's then it's very sweet. So finding the mood, study it, and also what did Prabhupada like? He's an Acharya, and he said, please do this. He said, do deity worship, should be first class. Then he went back and said, no, it should be better than first class. So work for that. I would say the garland makers of ISV are working on that level. They meditate 24 hours a day. Prabhupada said, revolutionary clean. We should, if you're preoccupied with, you walk out in the parking lot, you see a piece of paper on the ground, and you go pick it up and put it away. You're a right-hand man of Prabhupada, because in 1975, when he came to oversee the opening of the Krishna Balaram temple, when he walk around, he'd point with things with his cane. He said, why is that there? Why is that sitting here? Why isn't that put away? And if you get that kind of mood for taking care of Prabhupada's properties, and this is Prabhupada's property, and you say, like, how can I make it better? Then you're a right-hand man. Another story Malati told yesterday was the opening of the temple in London. And the deities were on the altar, and there were some new guests there, Indian guests, kind of rare back then. And they had to go. And Prabhupada said, get them prasadam. He never let anybody leave without prasadam. And the pujari said, we don't have any. And Prabhupada said, Malati looked at him with such a fierce look that he ran downstairs. Because if you know the temple in Soho, you got to run downstairs. Or maybe it was Bury Place. And ran downstairs to get something, cut up something, whatever it was, apples or whatever. They brought it back, put it on the altar, and Prabhupada said, okay, distribute. And they looked at Prabhupada and said, no, we didn't offer it yet. We just put it on the altar. Prabhupada, again, daggers. He said, it's touched the altar, it's offered. That's not to take from, for Brajaris, but the point was, Prabhupada was expedient in making sure, yena tena prakarina mana Krishna navesha, everybody gets prasadam. Doesn't matter who they are. The dog gets prasadam, he's a person too. And the guests who come, they should be taken care of as Krishna's personal guests in his house. If you become aware of these things, the mood of Prabhupada and how to take care of those who come here to see Krishna, Kanishta, Madhyam, Uttam, whatever, not whatever, specifically we have to be very welcoming and take care of them. And then, of course, Prabhupada's overarching mood was give mercy. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur imbibed this mood of real worship of the Lord is to go out and make sure that people get an opportunity to hear about Him. And he emphasized the Briyat Madanga. Use technology, use printing, use whatever means you can, now social media and printing and everything else, to make sure that people get an opportunity to chant Hare Krishna. And that's something you should meditate on 24 hours a day. If you do that, then you're Prabhupada's right-hand man, and you're following in the footsteps, and other aspects as well. You had 3 questions. The other ones I can only give 30 seconds to each. Go ahead.
Thank you, Maharaja. It was such a comprehensive answer. And the second one was that the Vasudeva Katha Prashna verse that you told. So there are three person, one who speaks and one who asks question and one all others. So can you again? I got confused. Who was the first? Like you told that whoever speaks is the
Speaking gets the most.
and second and third I was
Hearing, those who are deliberately sitting there and hearing.
I see.
And third is everybody else in between. The listeners of who incidentally hear.
So
And
second
third question?
No, second is like listening, and like those who are asking, they have to explicitly ask, or they just listen. They are also.
Well, you're covered anyway, so don't worry.
And the third question, Maharaj, that you told about the sentiment and knowledge about the Kanishta Adhikari, they don't have neither sentiment and knowledge. What about Madhyama and Uttama?
Madhyamas have the sentiment for saving the conditioned souls. They feel the urgency. They feel satisfied when they see somebody get a Bhagavad Gita in their house. They feel happy that people hear the holy name, that they get prasadam. And they have utsaha and enthusiasm for that, so that they're willing to go out in all kinds of conditions and make it available to people. Yeah, that's it drives them. And then if they see a dog, they say there's a person, and they say, Hari Bol. My Sukha Sagari Devi Dasi is a good friend of Nirkula and mine. She passed some years ago, but she had a business, and she was an entrepreneur. Whenever she'd see animals, she always say Hari Bol to them. And her business associates, who weren't devotees, when we met them, she says, yeah, Candace, they called her Candace, that was her secular name. They said Hari Bol, and I said, do you know what it means? And they go, yeah, it's a spiritual thing you say to animals. And so we should be concerned. If you see a little bug, like the other day, I saw a centipede, tiny little centipede, and I told them, Hare Krishna. And if you see a spider, tell them Hare Krishna. They're people too. The only difference is they don't have religion. So spiders in their next life can get some religion. Okay? Huh? Uttamadhikari has?
Both like sentiment and knowledge.
Yes, has sentiment, knowledge. And as I say, there's different ideas about Kanishta, Madhyamadhikari, Uttama. It's also mentioned how Kanishta Adhikari has Komal Shraddha. Faith is it's like Komal Shraddha means, when a little plant first puts up a creeper? It's so soft, you have to put a wall around it because it can be trampled really easily. So Kanishta Adhikari's faith is very soft and supple. And if someone brings some heavy argument about Mayavad or materialism or, what do you mean, there's no people in the universe besides us, whatever it may be, they can be shaken. But it's also mentioned by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami, it's not shaken forever. It doesn't destroy them forever. It's just they have to make a comeback after that because their faith is weak. The Madhyamadhikari has really strong faith, but doesn't know how to back it up with Shastra. And the Uttamadhikari has strong faith and also knows the Shastra. Shastra Sunipana, knows how it all fits together and also how to use logic and to argue against atheists. Okay? Okay, Mayapur Vihari Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for the nice class. Maharaj, you mentioned worshipping the devotees. Worshipping the Guru, the Acharya is probably easier. In fact, the word you used is worshipping, not just serving the devotees. Can you please elaborate how do we worship devotees? Not necessarily the Guru only, but devotees whom we may consider at our par. So we can go more deeper into the worshipping part.
Krishneti yasya gididam manasadriyeta dikshasti chet pranati bisha bhajantamisham. So he says, Rupa Goswami says, for the Kanishta Adhikari in your mind, you should respect them. As you should think, Aho Bhattashva Pachato Gariyan, if they can chant Hare Krishna, they've graduated to a level that nobody else is at. So in your mind, you should show respect. Dikshasti che prantibish chapajan. So pranams means if somebody's taken diksha, you should at least this, show them the bodily honor like that. And that there's no, worshiping devotees, Madbhakta Pujabyadika, Krishna says it himself, if you want to worship me properly, learn to worship my devotees. So, in Panihati, you've been there? Yeah, you've all been there. It's fantastic. We should all go to Panihati and just stay there for a week. We've passed through Panihati a couple times now. And when you go there, Bhakti True Maharaj was overseeing that project. So he told all his disciples, if any Prabhupada disciple comes here, you should put them here on a chair, you should wash their feet and take the water on your head. So any Prabhupada disciple comes into town, if you don't like that, don't come into town, because that's what you're going to get. They have a certain mood there, inculcated by their spiritual master. Show that kind of respect. There are myriad ways. When Krishna went to see Shrutadeva and Balalashva, then he came to the house of Shrutadeva, and Shrutadeva was glorifying Krishna in front of all the sages, and Krishna said, okay, stop it. Enough. He said, offer your respects to the sages, not to me. And one should just be aware of the fact that devotees are beloved of Krishna, and that showing them proper respect pleases Krishna. And if we offend devotees, then we will not be able to advance in devotional service. So it's important to learn how to control one's criticism of devotees, unless it's practical and you bring up Shastra and you do it in the context of calling a spade, as Prabhupada said, but watch out for maliciousness. And then on the other hand, if you can find ways to appreciate devotees and glorify them, your devotional service will blossom. I had an experience recently when I was at the Rise Retreat in London in April. And I know I have a godbrother I feel very lucky to have. His name's Kripa Moy Prabhu. And when I was there, I met him many times, but something got into me when I was there. I just heard him speak, and just the way he moves, the way he talks, the way he lives his life. I was thinking, I wasn't thinking so much, I was just feeling, he's such an advanced devotee. And that night, I couldn't go to sleep. I was tossing and turning because I felt so much gratitude to have such an advanced godbrother. Just thinking about him, even now, makes me a little emotional. And if we can develop appreciation for our God siblings and whatever level they're at, even Krishna has this mood. Api chet sudaracharo bhajate mamanandibhak. What does that mean? He says, listen. This is a very stern verse. He's saying, listen to me. If you see a bhakta who's messed up somehow, sudarachara, if you see that their intention is right, and intention is everything, isn't it? Say yes. Yes. Then he said, you have to respect him. You call him a sadhu, because that's what they are. And so that's the mood. Now again, there has to be practical. If somebody's a bully, if somebody's obviously doing something against dharma and against the wishes of the acharya and so forth, you have to point it out. And it's not that you just say, oh, it's all good. So that's another point that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta brings up in the context of these verses given by the Yogendras describing the three levels of devotees. If somebody says that the Madhyam or the Kanishta, or the Madhyam or the Uttam Adhikari, most likely the Madhyam, if such a person neglects, which he's asked to do, those who are not qualified to hear about Krishna. After all, Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita, doesn't he? He says, don't give this to people who aren't devoted or austere. And then Prabhupada says elsewhere, he said, yeah, we kind of ignore that because we know what Krishna really wants. But the fact is that there's a way in which Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dusatsucha prema maitri kripopeksha yakaroti samadhyamaha, that the Madhyamadikari learns to not engage those who are dvishatsu, which means they're against Krishna. So you don't chase after them. In fact, you let them go. You should be upeksha, or neglectful of them. But then there's a class of people who are neophytes, who will say, oh no, you shouldn't neglect them. You're being unmerciful. This is stated directly by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Such persons don't know the system, and they're wrong. One should neglect them, because if you try to engage them, they'll become more inimical. And when you neglect them, you should also pray for them, and pray for yourself to be able to have the wherewithal to help them in another way. So it's an intricate process, Vaishnava etiquette. The more one learns it by watching, like watch your Guru Maharaj. How does he interact with people in the world? Follow him around. Just notice how he treats people and how he talks about other people, and be like that. If you learn to do that, of course you already do, because you're an exemplar of such etiquette. I'm saying if somebody who doesn't have that would observe those who are very advanced in Vaishnava etiquette, and then you emulate that, then what you get is sublimity in your life. Because all good fortune comes from properly worshiping the Vaishnavas. In effect, we have the Vaishnavas to owe for our devotion to Krishna. It says Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami, if you read the Sanatana Shiksha, he starts, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was saying, the only reason you get into devotional service is because of the devotees. They're the ones who bring you in. So then don't start criticizing them. It's called biting the hand that feeds you. Don't do that. Be appreciative. Have gratitude for the level that devotees are at, whatever they are, and also be practical. If somebody's not interested, don't chase them down, but learn Vaishnava etiquette. So that brings us to the last 3 minutes, and that goes to part, and then we have a presentation.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
1 minute answer.
Oh, I had a reflection.
Okay, that makes it easier.
You were mentioning how devotees see Krishna and everything, so I was reflecting on a story I heard where Prabhupada was in America for the first few times, and he kept seeing everyone wearing a Gap hoodie or a Gap shirt, and he looks at Gap and sees G-A-P, Govindam Adi Purusham. And I just thought, even from something very inanimate, just a brand name, he could connect that straight to Krishna, which is amazing. And
it is amazing, and it's something that Prabhupada did wherever he went. He saw at a stoplight a father lifting up his child so that the child could put a letter in the letterbox. And then the letter was delivered, and Prabhupada was talking about how this is Guru Parampara. He's like, okay, put it in, and it goes. And this is what Prabhupada did on morning walks. When he would walk, he pointed to an accumulation of bird droppings. And he asked his senior devotees, those who are senior in the movement, he said, what does that mean? And they were all thinking back to their classes on ornithology and thinking like, well, let me see, what does that mean? Speculating in different ways. Probably, no, it means even the bird is attached to a home, hearth and home. because he's picked this one branch, and that's obviously from the forensic evidence. That's where he stays all the time, because this is my tree and that's my branch. So Prabhupada would constantly see the world in relationship to Krishna consciousness. What's more, he'd use those different vignettes to teach Krishna consciousness to others. So that's a blissful life. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please let us learn the etiquette of worshiping devotees. Please let us be kind friend to living beings by following the footsteps of our acharyas to widely, and that therefore widely distribute Krishna consciousness. Thank you for considering our requests. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. And we didn't get a question or a comment from Vaikundanayaka, so please unmute. Now you can unmute and say Hare Krishna. Vanchakalptarishya kripasinabhevacha patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakori vaishnavindaki jai go premanande haribol. So now we have the main part of our program this morning, which is a carefully curated lecture and presentation for one of the Kaishors. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj, for this wonderful class this morning. Lots to think about, especially the last part. I was thinking of Prabhupada's wonderful pastimes, and in my own life, actually, it was only after I read the Your Ever Well-Wisher book, I was sold. I was like, Prabhupada is the person. He knows, he's the real devotee. And so every pastime, every gesture, every mudra communicated so much in his life, and it continues to do for us. I'm very grateful that you brought that out. Thank you for sharing. Now we have Siddhi presenting on the topic, can God create a stone that he cannot lift? So I'll hand it over to Siddhi.
This is the next slide, right?
That's next. This is previous.
Hare Krishna. Today I will be presenting a slideshow on chapter 11 of Bhagavad Viveka. Can God create a stone that he cannot lift? We have all heard pastimes of the Supreme Lord performing miracles. However, questions are raised about why he did things in a certain way. Today we will talk about a couple of his pastimes related to his control over nature and everything he created. In Bhagavad Gita 9.10, Krishna says, Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam hetunanena kaunteya jagadvi parivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. He explains how nothing in this world happens independent of his will, whether it's a formation of planets or a falling of a single leaf. When we see stories like the building of the bridge to Lanka in the Ramayana or Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill, we shouldn't just see miracles. We should recognize that these actions reveal his control over nature and, more importantly, his love for his devotees. He doesn't act just to display power, but to teach, uplift, and connect with those who serve him. Why build a bridge when God could just walk on water? Now let's see an example. Millions of years ago, God appeared on earth as Lord Ram. At one point, his wife Sita had been kidnapped by Ravana, and he had to cross the ocean to reach her. Instead of just walking across the water, he had his army of monkeys throw stones into the sea, and by the power of his name written on them, the stones floated. Even though Lord Ram is God, he could have easily walked across the ocean or flown. He chose to involve his devotees. This shows that the Lord performs miracles not to show off his power, but to give his followers a chance to serve and be a part of his divine mission. In another pastime, about 5,000 years ago, God appeared again, this time as a playful young boy. When he was just 7 years old, a huge storm was sent by Indra because the people of Vrindavan had stopped worshipping him. To protect them, Krishna didn't stop the rain, but instead he lifted the entire Govardhan hill with the little finger of his left hand and held it up like an umbrella for 7 days and nights. He stayed there with the villagers the whole time, showing them his love and also teaching a lesson to Indra about pride. These pastimes, such as the stones floating on water and Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill, might seem like mythology or magic, but Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tatvata tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti sorjuna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains my eternal abode, O Arjuna. He explains that his birth and actions are not ordinary, but are divine and have a deeper meaning. Those who truly understand this, who see these stories not as fantasy, but as purposeful acts of the Supreme Lord, are free from the cycle of birth and death. So why did Lord Ram build a bridge when he could walk on water? Why did Krishna lift a mountain when he could have just stopped the rain? Because each act was filled with a divine purpose, to uplift his devotees, to teach powerful lessons, and to reveal his love. So some key takeaways from this are, the question, can God create a stone that he cannot lift, is often asked to challenge the idea of an all-powerful God. But when we understand who Krishna is, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it becomes clear that this question misinterprets the nature of his divine power. Krishna is not limited by logic or science made for the material world. As we saw in his pastimes, he can make stones float when they normally sink. He can lift a mountain as just a young boy. But he doesn't do these things randomly. His actions are filled with purpose, whether it's glorifying Govardhan or involving his devotees. These pastimes aren't meant to prove his power in a showy way. They're meant to deepen the faith of his devotees and to give us meaningful examples to reflect on. Hare Krishna.
That was a tight presentation from beginning to end, pillar to post. You had no hesitation and clear stream of thought. And I found the thoughts well lined up and a satisfying conclusion. You actually answered the question that is a perennial question people ask here, there, and everywhere. But you brought it to a harmonious close. May I ask you a couple questions?
Yeah.
What was your process for putting this together? I mean, how did it feel? How long did it take? Did you do it in your spare time? Was it arduous or was it easy? What did it feel like?
It wasn't easy, but I had help from my dad and my mom. I like started off by obviously reading the book, and then I like put together like all the notes that I had, and then like mix them up to make them flow.
How did you keep the notes and bring them together? Did you write them on paper or on your computer?
Like on my computer.
I see. And it seems like the whole family was engaged in Krishna Katha because of it, right?
Yeah.
My question is, what grade are you in? That's not my
I'm going
question.
to 10th.
Just preliminary. Huh?
I'm going to 10th.
10th grade. So let's say you meet somebody in 10th grade in your class who asks you this cliche question that people ask all the time: can God lift a rock he can create a rock that he can't lift himself? What kind of answer would you give a classmate, would you say? Like succinct, so that it satisfies their intelligence, if they have any.
I think I would say it just like this slideshow, and I would explain that since he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can do anything, but some things he does for a reason to like explain and like teach.
I think it's a nice result of your putting this together, is that you have that as a ready answer, and you can expand on it with other ways in which people ask such questions to challenge the existence of God. Really nicely done. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any other questions, comments, or reflections? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. It was nicely done presentation. It was very short, but I really like how you connected the Bhagavad Gita verses with the Bhagavatam stories. Yeah, thank you for the nice presentation.
Hare Krishna.
Anirudh, Prabhu.
Thanks, Siddhi. It was a very good presentation, and you answered the question very nicely with examples. Just wanted to give feedback. I mean, you were a little tense. I understand sometimes standing in front of audience creates some tension and pressure. So, being a little slow, then it makes things easier. But anyway, it was overall a very good presentation, and I think the verses you put to back your decision or what you wanted to explain was really nice. Thank you.
I just make a follow-up to that. I once took a course on public speaking here in Silicon Valley, and one of the exercises that they had us do was what they called getting into your bozo zone. You know who Bozo is? It's a clown. Never heard of Bozo the clown? A bozo is somebody who's audacious and over the top. And so they'd give us a paragraph to read, and they're filming, and then they'd say, overemphasize everything. And so you're supposed to read it in a way that you'd think, as you're reading it, that you're doing it too much. In other words, too much emphasis, too much gesticulation. You know what that means? You're using your hands outside. Like most people keep their hands in here when they talk, but you try to do the most you can. And then afterwards, they take you individually into a room and they show you the video. And then for most people, 99%, when they're in that zone where they're overdoing the way they articulate and the way they emphasize and the way they are just outwardly free with the information, expressing themselves with their hands and so forth, it looks just about right. So it's a nice point for this public speaking, is that there's also another aspect to it besides presenting, which is just to learn a few techniques about how to be comfortable and letting yourself go, letting your hands out and stuff like that. So it could be another phase or stage of the training, since everyone's so expert at presenting the philosophy. What do you think, Risheshwari Leela?
Yes, Maharaj. And I am very grateful that this platform is available, because I notice gradually some students making leaps and jumps in their presentation skills, from one presentation to the next every 6 months, and the development that they have, not just spiritually, but also like externally, presenting the topics in a way that captures the audience. And yes, I'm very grateful for that feedback, and definitely will try to incorporate more and more.
Thank you. Anyway, nicely done.
We have Shraddhama, and online we also have Tadiya Seva Prabhu.
Well done, Siddhi. For me, it was, I know Siddhi since she was 2 years old, so it's so nice to see you come up here and present. And so when you brought up this topic, I went back 50 years in my life when I was in high school, and I was educated in a convent school, so we had the father, and he had brought all the students together, and he said that you will never get a chance in your life to sit and spend 3 or 4 hours just talking about God. And we had a cheeky student, and she asked the question, can God build a wall that he cannot climb? Which is the same as, the topic today. And he didn't answer that. And so when I saw this topic and I saw Siddhi present, I was thinking back to the lecture that we had today about Uttam Adhikari, backing it up with Shastras. It was like, now Siddhi did that. So kudos to Siddhi for coming up with such a fantastic topic. And then also, I'm very grateful to the school that is bringing up the kids in such a wonderful manner. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Tadiya Seva Prabhu.
Nice presentation. I just like this one point where it is said that Lord's pastimes are never random. And if you look at the pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, when he appeared on the earth, some of the pastimes like killing of delivering Nalakuvera, and then killing of Jarasandha, and killing of other demons. We can very well say that they are never random. And one point I was thinking was, to do something in this material world, we need intelligence. And I was thinking maybe Krishna is just a, because of my immaturity, maybe a cunning person. That is why he's doing that. But it's not. He's not a cunning person. Krishna has supreme intelligence. That is why he was able to arrange all his pastimes in that jam-packed 125 years. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Siddhi. I think this is a fantastic opportunity that you have very nicely taken up, and grateful to the parents, Sundar Chitra Prabhu and Janki Mataji, to raise you so nicely and empower you to continue speaking in this way. I look forward to hearing more and connecting more with you. Jamuna Mataji wanted to have a video presentation.
Yes, we have a word from our sponsor. And for anyone who's alive and kicking, we have the kitchen crew to thank. So we have a special video from Jamuna.
I wanted to thank you for such a nice class. I think the thing that I really took away was it was very empowering for every single person to do what they see right in front of them and to try and be Srila Prabhupada's right-hand person any way we can every day. I love the practical example of just seeing something out of place, some trash or something out of place and just putting it in a place, it's very empowering for all of us. So since the class, I started thinking, wow, what else can I do? There's so much more. So quite appropriately, the kitchen team put together this video to show another way that you can be Srila Prabhupada's right-hand person. Is it ready? So we hope that you can see this and get inspired as well. And the nice thing, it's not just doesn't have to be a weekly commitment. It can be one day a month, which is very nice when you see that. Do you have something?
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to ISV Kitchen. This is where we cook our
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to ISV Kitchen. This is where we cook our Sunday feast. Last year, we were serving 350 plates. This year, we are up to 700. We need more volunteers to come and help prepare this beautiful feast. There are a lot of opportunities for you to come, serve your heart out, and enjoy the Sunday feast.
Kitchen prep is the place to be.
It's really fun doing this for Krishna, and we make friends and also discuss Krishna Katha.
There's a lot of energy listening to Kirtan and shopping.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Families that cook and serve together stay together.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
All the services in the kitchen are completely blissful. From cleaning the walk-in to cleaning the pots. It all cleans our hearts. Hare Krishna, Hari Bol.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I feel that as a young person, I can bring energy to the kitchen and help reduce the load off some of our elders' backs. And also I'm learning the fundamentals of cooking, and I can apply this in my own cooking journey. So it's been really helpful and fun.
Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you for watching. So you saw that we went from 300 plates to 700 on Sundays. So we're really needing to increase the engagement with the kitchen. And you see that on Saturdays, you can help many different things just for 1 hour. Many hands make light work. And then Sundays also. So it can just be for one, like say the second Saturday of the month. It doesn't have to be every Saturday, but we're building teams. So it's not like going to take away from all of your other services, but you can commit just a little bit so that we can really make nice prasadam for so many newcomers that are coming. It's really working. There's so many new people coming, and we need a little more help in the kitchen.
The takeaway, commit to a little bit, at least. It's the heart of the temple, or we can say that a way to, an army runs on its stomach. And when the prasadam is at a high level and when there's cooperation in the kitchen, then we have a healthy community. And frankly speaking, people come here oftentimes just for the prasadam. So it should be first class. And everyone has, I'm not talking about you guys. Obviously, you sat through the class. So yeah, it's very important. And thank you for lifting this to a new level. We'll continue to do this. Hare Krishna. Now we have an announcement from our Bhakti community. You have 2 minutes to tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna. Thanks so much for the opportunity. As you know, Bhakti community is a community where we shower care to newcomers and help them to make progress on their path to Bhakti. I thank all the book distributors who regularly go out and give these bookmarks showing all the programs which are there on the Bhakti community. That's very helpful. We have weekly programs online throughout the week, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. And we also have in-person program, like yesterday we had the Mantra Zone at San Jose, where some of the newcomers had come. Julius had come. He regularly attends Bhakti community. He's in Morgan Hill, so obviously it's very far from center, but we had an in-person program yesterday in San Jose, and he came in and he was very delighted to meet all the people in person whom he regularly attends online. And he looks forward because throughout the week, as you can imagine, there are so many stress, etc. And you need an avenue where you can come together and get uplifted and nourished. And this is what these association coming together provide. So please, thanks again. Continue to do so. Please do share the bookmarks every week so that whenever you go out for book distribution, so newcomers keep coming and we get the opportunity to keep associating with them and help them progress. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Now we have Team ISV Book Distribution, Malini Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna. We are in our Bhadra Purnima monthly Sankirtan festival coming up soon, but in between we have Janmashtami. And last Thursday we had our brainstorming meeting for the Bhadra Purnima. And I saw that few devotees joined the call, but it was so enlivening. Devotees shared so many ideas on how to expand the book distribution, especially the Bhagavatam set distribution. We sent out the notes, so please take a look at it. But one highlight was from that is that we should bring our calling party back, because I know that we are going a lot on book distribution, but there are so many pious souls who may be outside of the Bay Area. So we were just thinking of you, Shriji Priya Mataji, that we have to revive back. We have to reach out to some different business owners and see how we can also engage them in distributing Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So more to come on that. And in respect to going different places for book distribution, one more idea that came up was, instead of going to the same store every time, rotate to the stores which are not usually touched. There are two advantages. One is that it's a new location. And second thing is that you meet new people. The reason is we went to the Dianza, India Cash and Carry, like for the last 1 year continuously. When we stand at the table, people see us from a distance as, you already gave me the whole box. I have the full set. I have, like, almost everyone is saying the same thing, which means that we have exhausted that. But instead, when we went to different place, it was so enlivening. We went to one place in, I think it's in Milpitas. It's a coconut hill in Milpitas. There was one very nice experience wanted to share. Achyuta Kumar Prabhu, Namsmaran Prabhu, we all were there. There was one person who was trying to back up his car, and maybe he was close to somebody else, so somebody honked at him. So he immediately stopped. When he stopped, Achyuta Kumar Prabhu, he was there, like where maybe Bhagavad Pan is standing, and Achyuta Kumar Prabhu was here. So he just showed him a Bhagavatam book like this, just like he just showed. And immediately he took out his car like halfway, it was not fully parked. He immediately got out of the car. He came to the Bhagavatam and he said, where is this book? I was been looking for this book. His car was parked halfway, so it was blocking other things, but still he didn't mind. And then just 2 minutes he spoke, and we said, we just have a full set of Bhagavatam, we take a donation. So he pulled out from his pocket whatever cash it was, and it was like, later we counted, it was $130. And then we just told them we also take cards. He says, oh really? Then take my card. He just gave it. And just first he said, put 200 on it. And then we said, okay. I said, no, just put 220 on it. And then he just kept adding on to it. And he gave so much of donation with such a grateful heart. He took the entire set of Bhagavatam. And then his name, actually, when we asked him, what's your name? He said, my name is Krishna Chaitanya. I was like surprised to see that his name was Krishna Chaitanya. And then when he was leaving, he saw the picture of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He saw the display copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said, where is this book? And we told him that unfortunately we don't have the full set. He said, just give me this book, I will take it. And he just gave some more Lakshmi for that book. And he said that someone, I think Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or someone, he said he also worshipped Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he said, I wanted to know more about him. He just took the Bhagavatam, he took that one copy of Chaitanya Charitamrita and he just left. And we told him, come to the temple. He said, these books, they are my temple. He just left. It was such an enlivening experience to see how there are different kinds of people waiting for these books, and we get to meet them when we go on book distribution. So please join us. We have locations in Fremont, we have location in Milpitas, San Jose, Cupertino, Dublin, Pleasanton, and Western Sankirtan team also has a big list of places where you can go. And we also have our Youth Sankirtan team as well. I see the representatives. They go out on every weekend now. So please join them as well. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to me, and I'll be happy to assist you. Thank you so much for listening.
Sharidad Vijaja Jodendriya Tahika Jive Pele Vishaya Shagare Tarma Didvayati Loba Moisu Durmati Take jeta katita samsare Krishna vada doya moy Kori bare jihva jai Swaprasadana dilobai Shayanamrita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Premedako Shri Chaitanya Nitai Ma prasade govinde nama brahmani vaishnave Sabha punya vatam rajan Vishwaso navijayate Prasade sarva dukhanam Hanirasya upajayate Prasana chetaso yashu Buddhipaya patistate Tvayopa bhukta svaganda Masalankara charchitaha uchishta bodhino dasa Davamayam jaimahi shuksham prayushi kamvapi nityam va Shataha prakti matrena bhoktavyam Natrakala vicharana nadesha niyamastatra Nakala niyamastatra Taptamanam drutam shishter Bhoktarim hari abrave Bhagavat Shri Mahaprasadiki Gora Premanande Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitya Gaura Hari Bol Please come take prasadam. Prasadam for everybody. Go out this door, take a sharp right, and find yourself in the picnic area. Hare Krishna.